Schmidt here. Hey, it's Tuesday, January 27th. Thank you again for joining me for another week. Neil Keenan had put out a report that basically was saying that the ambassador was a fraud and that he was a Pied Piper. Now, the ambassador and I, we've talked about that. And he has put out a statement, a written statement, saying it was one of the best things that Neil Keenan ever wrote. And when he says it's one of the best things, it's one of the most coherent sentence structures, actually making sense, stuff that he said, except for just a few things. Neil, your facts were really bad. Let me just give one illustration. You talk about who the M1 is. I know who the current M1 is. I know his name. I know where he lives. I know who the last 4 M1s have been. And you're not even close to being accurate within that. You did say he's European. Yes, he's European, because the ambassador has stated many times, and the Red Dragon has stated to me himself, the family is not just Chinese. They are comprised of royal bloodlines that come out of Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and China. I don't need to go on anymore. Enough of that.
Hello, Mr. Ambassador. Yep, this is Neil Keenan. I just heard about your video, and it's about time you told the people somewhat the truth. Thank you for doing so. Yes, you are working with M1 in Europe, as you say, who happens to be, by the way, black nobility, who happens to be working with the Black Eagle Trust, which is illegal. So you're illegal too, which means you're Illuminati, which means you don't own the assets, you don't own the notes, you don't own the gold, you don't own anything, basically. That might strike a note with you. Nevertheless, thank you for telling them, people. You have a choice now. You can go with the Illuminati, the black nobility, or you can try to overturn the black nobility, because seeing that they're going to kill everyone but 500 million on the face of the earth. Okay, you can't believe they're going to do this and they're going to do that anymore, including the ambassador, because he is the Pied Piper and he is leading you to the end. Okay, the Antichrist, whatever. And, you know, Mr. Ambassador, you're right, we did a good job. But it's, you know, we can do many good jobs, but we're too busy working on what we have to do. So we're not going to address you again. People, if you want to follow the ambassador, follow him. You now know who he is. You know what he is. Our document or post shows what he is, who he is, and now that he admits it himself, we can't go any further than that. That's an admission, and you now have that to deal with. Ron Van Dyke, if you ever listen to him again, you've got to be, you got to go look for your buttons because you dropped a few along the way. Okay, Ron Van Dyke was the Secretary of Treasury of the Treasury for Tim Turner, another class act, which was followed by Release the Shackles, and after Release the Shackles it was OPPT, and then it happened to be Swiss Indo, and now it's the Red Dragon Ambassador. It was probably more like a, what's that embarrassed color? What, did you get embarrassed? You turn green? You're green now, Mr. Ambassador, you're green. Anyway, we're not going to fight with you any longer. We don't care about you any longer. We've told the people who you are. You no longer can fool them unless they want to be fooled. So we'll leave you be. Okay, David Schmidt, that's another story. One not even worth talking about. He's the Johnny-come-lately who knows little or nothing. He just got conned in his own little game. You know, I mean, the ambassador just outed him too when he outed himself. And he did it deliberately. So, Mr. Ambassador, again, thank you for letting the people know. Now, on the other hand, we've had, I received an email from Jean Haynes a couple of days ago telling me we have to stop this anger. She's never felt so angry in her life, and you know, and mad. You know, first of all, I have no anger and I have no madness. You know, I don't care. I haven't responded to you in a long time. I've let you lie, I've let you cheat, I've let you do everything with these people, having your fun, like you did with David, with Drake at one time. Drake just kept quiet. You know, I had a copy of that letter, if you remember, and the letter was very clear. Drake was trying to give you a hand, and you stabbed him in the back, claiming he threatened you. You never showed that letter. Then again, you even tried to say I threatened you when my letter was on the internet. And everybody else saw it, and they said, Gene, stop it, we know, we saw the letter. You know, Gene, it's time to stop. You're making a fool out of yourself. You mean that last piece of work was not a piece of work at all. Actually, it was sloppy. It was poorly written, and I'm a bad writer, but this was worse than me. I mean, yeah, when I see something worse than me, I pat myself on the back for being good. Now let's go through that just for a second. I'm only going to do it for a few minutes. I'm not going to be here long. I don't want to be here long. You know, we have things we have to do. This is not our thing. And addressing that is not our thing either. So let's just go through it. Michael Dunn, Benjamin, and David, according to the beginning of Gene's post, they created that book, worked on that book, fooling each other, conning each other and everything else. And me first, counting them actually. And everybody was conning each other. And Paul Collins knew everything. The homeless man that we gave a hand to because no one else would. Okay. Anyway, we'll go to that in a few seconds too. Anyway, let's get this straight. Michael Dunn was a commenter from Gene's site. He was intelligent, highly intelligent, and he didn't put up with Gene's shit. He didn't want to put up with it. He didn't put up with it. Okay, he would fight back. He's a great guy, and he didn't deserve to be maligned like he was by Gene. He wasn't there in the beginning. Michael came much later. There was Benjamin, who thought that this might be the end of financial tyranny. It opened up a lot of doors, and is still doing it. And David, who basically memorialized it by putting it in the form of a book. David did a fantastic job, and you have no idea how much work he did to get this out to you. I mean, I was there every day giving him a hand, so I know what David did. David worked, which is what David does well. He likes to work. Okay? Now, there was no Michael, so forget that. You got your timeline mixed up, your lie got caught up again. Now let's go to the end of the situation, which is the book that Paul Collins allegedly states I wanted him to write, and everybody's referring it to the financial tyranny. Your timeline again is off, really off, because Michael Dunn actually helped Paul Collins out in California when Paul didn't have a dime, couldn't pay his phone bill, and he wanted a sandwich. I called Michael up and asked him to give Paul a hand. Paul went to see him. Michael took care of that. And his phone, paid his phone. A few weeks later, a month later or two, Paul needed help on his phone again. Michael told him, Paul, I have my own problems. I can't keep doing this for you. So Paul drove to the East Coast and came to Washington. And he called Michael Calhoun. And Michael Calhoun called me and he said, Paul's here. He doesn't have any money. He doesn't have a place to stay. He's going to sleep in the back of his van again. Shall we help him out? I said, do. We sent him some money. He spent 3 or 4 days in a hotel, paid his phone, paid this, paid that, ate, and he sent me a message telling me that he's eating like a human being again. He feels like a human being again. And I got to be honest with you. Paul did help me in the beginning when I had no idea who OITC was at all. He helped me. And this was my reciprocation. I felt that Paul was a decent guy. I don't know what the hell's going on with him now, but he uses Gene's site as a donation page now. That's which is strange. Nevertheless, that's wrong. So not only did we lend him money while he was in California, and Michael paid his phone bill, but we lent him money also in Washington, D.C. We didn't lend it, we sent it to him. There was no lending. He kept promising to send papers that he never sent. He said, I have to get my books. They were in storage or something. I have to get in. And it didn't matter to me whether I got them or not. I thought I was helping a friend out who needed a hand. And it seems like he's worse than a dog, because the dog doesn't even bite the hand that feeds him. You know? And he's out there running around. He's going to be adding to his book, which this guy Jones, that he actually had me call this man Jones, who he claimed as his handler. And I have to be very honest with you there that if he's his handler, then why am I talking to him? You know, he's throwing me into the fire. But this guy Jones told me not to bother with him, that I couldn't trust him. And that's what happened there. I didn't speak to Jones that often. He seemed to be a pretty decent character, but now I hear he's a handler. Mr. Jones, you always treated me fairly when I called you. You gave me good advice to stay away from him. So thank you for that. Thank you. And you know, Paul, I'm going to be out there making statements. Maybe you can defend yourself as well. I don't know, but I'm not defending myself. I gave Paul money and I expected nothing back, despite the fact that he said papers. So, you know, when Paul didn't have his passport and they were threatening to kill him all throughout the United States, that's when I spoke to Paul. This is within the last year maybe. And I told him, look, I'll take you to Indonesia with me. Before I learned he didn't have a passport. I'll take you to Indonesia with me. You can come over there. And we're writing a little book there for the stores there. We have to do it in English, then we're going to get it translated into Bahasa. And Paul made it clear he couldn't come. Had nothing to do with financial tyranny. Had to do with a little book for an Indonesian market that was going to be talking about Nelu and others there. It was going to help out in breaking the things out on that side. Now, Paul, you're way out of line. I guess you've been way out of line a long time, many times in your life. And that's why everybody's after you, probably. But you're out of line here. Okay, you're claiming you wouldn't take an old lady's money. Well, you didn't take an old lady's money. The old lady's lied throughout about the amount of money, about everything else. And the old lady doesn't talk about getting money back. And it wasn't a loan either. But, okay, that was money that came from me, not from her. Okay? Just so you know. Now, I'm not going to tell you again. Okay, you've got Gene's page now. You can ask for donations with the bullshit about your life. You know, you can do that. That's what you're doing. I don't care. But if it gets into me, I'll get into you, like I'm good at doing. Ask the Red Dragon Ambassador. Okay. So anyway, people, that's done. Okay, I'm never again going to address it. Let them write their books and stories. They got 30 people watching. 30. So we've got hundreds of thousands, if not millions, and they got 30. So I'm not going to be too worried about that. Okay, I don't have time for that. Now let me make this very quick. The last point.